So let's talk about Ed Doherty.
We're here to talk about Eddie. I love that. You want me into the camera or just to you? Oh, okay, no. Eddie's great. I mean, we go way back with Eddie to the beginning. Well, we were just babies in the beginning. Eddie booked Elvis and just about everybody else in the business at one time or another. Ran the state fair in Oregon and had about 120 fairs that he booked at Eddie's heyday. I think his whole life was Eddie's heyday. He was great. He was always there. Eddie's a schmoozer. Jan, his wife Jan, is wonderful. She's back in the office working her ass off and putting all the contracts together, and Eddie's out schmoozing with all the acts and having a great time at all the shows, and he loved rock and roll. And fortunately for us, he did. He booked all of the little bands around the area, and back then we were one of the little bands. Back before we had records, Ed would book us and Paul Revere and the Raiders and a bunch of the acts that became national acts eventually. But he booked us back before records even. Back in the late 50s, early 60s. We were really busy working with Ed around the Northwest. And it was always a lot of fun. The fair back from '62, the state fair, and then, whoops.
Yeah, no problem. I can weave that in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Hey, brother. I'm good. Can I call you back? We're doing an interview here. I'll call you back in about 10 minutes. All right, bye. Sorry.
No, that's not a problem. You can add it. I just want to make sure we're
Still good?
still good. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, Eddie had several places in Salem that he booked because his offices were there. And so we worked the Salem roller rink. And it was a time when you couldn't wear jeans to the roller rink, so all the people dressed up to come out to the shows. And the Salem Armory was one place that we worked a lot with Ed. And you can probably still hear us. The sound's still bouncing around in there today. It's one of those real live, really loud places to play. And we were extremely loud back in the day. So Ed was great. Ed's always been a real favorite of ours to work in the Northwest. We worked a lot of fairs for him in the last 10 years. We were up and down the West Coast working fairs for Ed, traveling with him down to the different fair trade shows and down to California and then back here to Oregon. So Eddie's been like a sixth Kingsmen or a sixth Paul Revere and the Raiders. You know, he's always been a kind of a member of the band, looking out for the bands. He's just a great guy. You know, we miss Eddie today. We wish he was still working. Have a nice retirement, Eddie. Here's one for you.
yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I didn't realize Ed never talks about anything, the times I've talked to him, anything before his first bands that he put on at the Armory, which was in '63.
Oh.
He never talks about.
Never talks about
So
bringing.
learning from
Never
him.
talks about bringing Elvis into town.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
mention
when he's-
that, but was that pre?
That was pre-Kingsman and Revere, yeah. He brought Elvis to town, and his daughter used to go to school and say, "Yeah, my daddy works for Elvis Presley," and nobody believed her. Yeah, my daddy works for Elvis. So yeah, Eddie brought everybody in, and anybody that was a name act he brought into the fairgrounds especially.
Yeah, Sonny and Cher.
Oh, everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sonny and Cher were our era, back in the fur coat days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do you remember Ed being as a promoter business? Was he pretty tough though?
Ed was never tough on the bands. Ed was real direct and real soft spoken, just really easy to get along with. As long as you showed up on time, played your sets, everything was good with Eddie. You know, he was always backing the band. I mean, he was a promoter himself, so he knew how to handle the venues that we worked in, and he was in charge. And so you could go to Ed with any problem, and he'd take care of it. He was just a real problem solver. Really good at that. Yeah, he was great.
So the way he ran his like dances at the Armory in the '60s. He had some strict rules, I guess. Like even
Eddie's a softie, you know, with the bands. I mean, as long as you were there and did your show, I mean, he was there to sell tickets. You know, and you know, we filled the Armory up, and Revere filled it up, and you know, it's all the local bands he put in there. He had great crowds. You could always, you know, go to an Ed job and know that you were going to be treated well. So, but Ed was a big softie. You know, Jan was the tough one behind the scenes. She was, you know, she was running the contracts and made sure that everything was to the letter. But Ed was the softie. He's the schmoozer out behind the band and visiting with everybody.
Okay, that's good, Mike. Let's see. So how about this one about, you have anything to say about how important his contribution was in the Northwest rock and roll scene by helping these groups, you know, giving them a place to...
Well, he was great for bands. I mean, there were a half a dozen guys promoting back in those days, from Pat Mason to some of the little promoters. Some of them are still around today that are still doing the little clubs, covering the areas where Ed wouldn't touch. He was big time. He was the Northwest promoter in this area. There was one guy, Pat O'Day, out of Seattle that promoted Washington, and Ed was Oregon. And Ed had a lot of fairs in Washington and Oregon and California, and even over to Idaho. So if you wanted to do a professional show, you went to Ed, and you became one of his acts. All the local bands wanted to work for Ed. He was tough to get in with because he was pretty selective as to who he used. But he had a lot of fairs to fill, so he was a busy boy.
Okay. Let's see. You guys played for like Ed's 40th anniversary party. You remember that?
I do. Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Do you have anything to say about that?
We were loud, you know, and it's everybody that was holding their ears, trying to remember what it was like back in the '60s. All these people had gotten much older, and they weren't used to as loud as. I mean, we're still loud, and Ed was the one that was going, "Hey, it's going to be loud. It's going to be loud." I mean, this is what they are, and this is who they are, and they're louder than snot today, and just like they were back then. You know, I mean, there was. Now they have the guys that walk around with the sound control machines, and you can't go over certain dB levels. Back then, you just blasted everybody, and Ed backed up the bands. He was, "This is what you do. This is who you are, and this is why I hired you. So you just play and do your thing."
Yeah. Are you guys performing anywhere soon? The Kingsmen?
We just are doing a lot of festivals. We've cut the shows way back, yeah, because we have 3 states that we live in now, so we all have to fly in to play anywhere anymore. So it's a little tougher, and our crowds are getting older, and so we have grandmothers and their daughters that are all coming out now. So it's great fun.
Anything coming up, Bill?
We have a lot coming up.
You do have? Oh.
We do have.
Do you post stuff on your site?
We will as it.
Recently.
Yeah, we will. It's
Okay.
pretty bare right now.
I didn't see anything.
The fellow that's running the site is off working on another project. So
Okay, I wondered.
Yeah.
I'll check it again pretty soon.
yeah, it's
I'd
every.
like to see you guys play.
We're not formally retired. We're
Yeah.
just tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got on my sheet here, Mike. But
Okay.
before I shut stuff down, any...
Well, Eddie, you know,
Anything else about it?
anytime I call Eddie, he's right on the spot. He'll help. He's still there for all the guys that work for him. He's just a great guy. I'm happy he retired. Happy that he goes south in the winter. You know, keep his arthritis under control and hope his heart condition improves. And I've been there and done that. You know, he'll be fine. You know, he'll come through it. Got to keep he and Jan mobile. Keep them working. I think working is his life. You know, he just he's a great guy, and he's been a great asset to the industry. and he's one of the big guys from the 50s on up through the 90s into the 2000s. I mean, he's been there for all these local bands. So thanks, Eddie.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll use that.
Okay.
Okay. That's it, Mike.
Thanks, kid.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.